Hi, everyone. Welcome once again to our Produce Spotlight class. I'm Shayna, one of the dietitians, and so happy to have you with me today. Now, if you started watching Produce Spotlight with us last week with Jenna, you know that for the month of October, we're doing a bit of a pumpkin and apple takeover for this series, which I'm super excited about because I just think it's a very fun topic. Last week, Jenna kicked us off with a pumpkin segment. Today, we're doing all about apples. And since I wasn't on with you guys last week, I just have to know, that dying question she might have already asked you, but I've got to ask again, of which team are you on? Are you on Team Apple like we're going to cover today? Or are you more of Team Pumpkin? Or maybe you're in the boat of neither, which is completely fine too. We're still happy that you decided to join us for the series anyway. Well, I'm going to tell you guys, I'm looking at the results, and so far, Team Apple has a pretty big lead. Okay. I will say that I am all over the place. Like, if I had to pick, I would say Apple, but I am a huge pumpkin fan too. It's a really hard one for me. And I even thought about it as I made this poll question. Should I put team both? But I was like, no, you have to be decisive and pick one. But I'm with you guys for those of you who are torn. I feel yeah. Here are our results. So Team Pumpkin, 70%. Excuse me, Team Apple. I apologize. Team Apple, 70%. Team Pumpkin, a little under 30 there. Okay. And some of you, like I said, not a fan of either, which is completely fine too. Well, since we are a lot of Apple fans here today, then I'm excited that we have this jam-packed class for you, all right? What are we going to be going over today? We are actually specifically going to be talking about apple cider, okay? So like I said, we're doing this for the whole month. Next week, Charlotte is going to focus really heavy and specific on the apples. So I decided to go a bit of a different direction and chat more about apple cider, the different types of apples that are usually made with apple cider. And then we're going to do these recipes, okay? Two different recipes today, a baked apple cider donut recipe, as well as mulled apple cider. So since we have so much going on, I actually want to start with the recipes first, so that way we can, get through them before the end of class. We're going to start off with the baked apple cider donuts. And you might be looking at this like, Shayna, you're the dietitian and we are making apple cider donuts. And I'm going to say, yes, we are. Okay. Like I said, we're going to talk about the nutrition qualities of apple cider in a moment. Is this a sweet treat? Absolutely it is. But why I wanted to show this today is because it can be a really great alternative to some other donuts that are out there. Number one, because they are baked instead of fried. And number two, you're going to see that we're making them very miniature. Okay, so they're going to be nice and bite-sized from a portion control standpoint. This could be a better option in the way of that. Okay, so just hang on here with me. Here are the ingredients that we are going to be using today, which we will chat more about as we make them. And here are the directions, okay? Two things that I want to point out. If you do not have a donut pan, completely okay. I have made some of these ahead of time to show you. Some I made in a donut pan, and the others I used this tip here of using just a muffin pan instead. So whatever you have is completely fine. Also, if you want to make these ahead of time, you can do so. You can store them for up to 3 days in an airtight container, and you're going to want to wait to do the whole little cinnamon sugar coating on them until you're ready to serve them. All right, but I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing this screen here, and we will pull up the ingredients over here. Okay, let's dig in to what we've got going on over here. Okay, so first up, The first direction was to reduce our apple cider. So we're going to talk a lot about different types of apple ciders that you can use. I did decide to use a local apple cider. This is from Kimes. It's their Honey Crisp apple cider, which, like I said, we'll talk more about in a moment. But I did 1.5 cups of that in a saucepan, boiled it, and then simmered it for about 20 minutes. So it reduced down to consistency here. It's going to be a bit thicker and the flavor is going to be more concentrated whenever you reduce it down like that. So because of that, the apple cider really has a chance to sting in these donuts, okay? So that is the first step of the directions that you want to reduce that down and let that cool, which I did. Now we're going to be working with our dry ingredients. So in this bowl here already, oh guys, I have my Halloween nails. I'm full spirit, all into it. Okay. In this bowl here, we have 1 3/4 cup of all-purpose flour. And then to that, I'm going to be adding a little bit of a spice mixture, okay? So in my spice mixture here already, I have 2 ingredients. I have 4 teaspoons of cinnamon, and then I have a pinch of cloves. The recipe also calls for 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg. And guys, I'm here to tell you that I am not a nutmeg fan, so I just did not add it. But if you like nutmeg, put that in here. Okay, so once again, 4 teaspoons of the cinnamon, and then you can do the 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg if you want, or just do what I'm doing, which is just doing the pinch of cloves in there. Okay, then we're gonna just give this a little mix, and we need to set aside 1.5 teaspoons of this for later. So let me go ahead and measure that out. Okay, so we're going to remove that. We'll set that aside for later use once our donuts are done baking. The rest of this I'm pouring right in with our dry ingredients. Okay, and then the last of our dry ingredients, I have 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder as well as 1/2 teaspoon of salt that I'm putting in there. All right, we're just going to give this a whisk, and then we will start working with our wet ingredients. So you can see already, even though this is just flour, you can kind of see those flecks of cinnamon in there. Like, you're just getting the vibe that this is going to be a nice fall donut, okay? So let's switch gears here and work with our wet ingredients. I have 4 tablespoons of melted butter in here. Then to that, I am going to add a 1/2 cup of milk, as well as 1 egg. So crack that in there. Okay. Maybe wash my hands quick. Okay, we have our egg in there. We're going to do a teaspoon of vanilla. Let me grab my teaspoon. All right, 1 teaspoon of vanilla in there. Now we're going to be adding 2 different types of sugar, okay? First off, we're going to be adding a 1/2 cup of just regular white granulated sugar to this mixture. And then we are going to be adding a 1/2 cup of dark brown sugar, all right? We're going with the dark brown sugar because dark brown sugar retains a bit more of the molasses flavoring in brown sugar. So once again, it's just going to add a nice complexity of flavor to our donut. All right. So 1/2 cup of the dark brown sugar is now in. I'm going to go ahead and whisk this up. And then we will proceed to add this to our dry ingredients. Just a moment here, get that nice and combined. Okay. So switch this in here. There are those dry ingredients. We're adding our wet ingredients in. We're also going to add that reduced down apple cider, okay? Remember, this was a cup and a half that we reduced for about 20 minutes. So now it was only about a half a cup. We just want to stir this until it is nice and combined. We don't want to overmix, okay, because then our donuts can get a little tough. So we're just going to mix it until we're not seeing those dry ingredients anymore, okay? So we're about there, pretty good, okay? Now, what we want to do, and this is why I wanted to start this ahead of time, is that we want to let this sit for 10 minutes, okay? And as it sits, it's going to let all of those flavors marry together. It's going to allow it for some air to be incorporated, and it's going to cause a nice, good effect of in terms of a fluffy donut, okay? I do this also with my pancake mixes. So anytime you want that nice fluff, you want to let this sit, okay? Like I said, 10 minutes, we're going to let that go. And while we are waiting on that, I'm going to reshare our screen here so we can chat a bit more about the apple cider, okay? So come back here to you. Let's talk about apple cider, the differences, okay? So I really wanted to dive in between, what's the difference with apple juice, apple cider, hard cider, if you're a fan of that. And so here's the breakdown, okay? Apple juice is going to be the juice, of course, from apples, but it is filtered, okay? So when I say it's filtered, all that pulp and everything like that from the apple is going to be taken out. So then it's also pasteurized. Sometimes it has added sugar, not all the time, right? When we recommend apple juice, we're always recommending to look for 100% apple juice, meaning that there shouldn't be any sugar added to it. But you have that nice clear color once again because it is filtered, it is pasteurized. So how does that differ from actual apple cider? And I have apple cider listed here as soft cider, meaning I'm talking about the non-alcoholic version of apple cider right now. So this type of cider, it's unfiltered. So it's going to retain that pulp of the apple a little bit more, all those fibers and whatnot. So you're not going to get that super clear color. If it looks cloudy, that's normal. That's how it's supposed to be. It usually is pasteurized, right? Like if you're picking it up from our stores and whatnot, it's going to be pasteurized. Always check the label if that is something of a concern for you, though, that you want to make sure that you're getting it pasteurized. If you're getting it locally somewhere else, that might not be the case, all right? So check the label or ask whoever you're buying it from if it is pasteurized. Typically, there is not going to be added sugar to an apple cider, which then helps promote that really nice, fresh, and tangy flavor that you usually get with apple cider, okay? Now, of course, some folks there at the bottom, you might be into hard cider, which is going to be the alcoholic form of the apple cider. And how this is made is that yeast is going to be added to apple juice. And when that yeast is added to apple juice, it's going to propel fermentation. And that means that during that fermentation process, the sugars that were in the apple juice naturally are going to convert to alcohol. Depending on what types of apples are used and the duration of that process, the flavors really can vary. Okay, but that's the breakdown there in terms of the differences. So, question for you guys here, now that we've kind of dug into the different types, is how do you like your apple cider? If you're a fan, maybe you don't like apple cider, maybe you're there at the bottom. Do you like to drink it warm? Would you prefer to have it cold? Or I go to some local local orchards that serve it as a slushy, which I really love. And It's so hard. Once again, I should have had like a both type answer here, but I like it always. When I go to the orchard, I have to have a slushie. I do like to drink it cold at home. If it's like an evening or early morning, then I like it warm. Like I like it always. But maybe you're not a fan, which is completely fine. It looks like we're a bit all over the place. I will share the results with you guys. Some of you say that you do like it warm, which is great. We're going to be doing that with our mulled apple cider here in a moment. Um, Over half of you said that you would prefer it to be cold. A couple of you are with me that you like the slushy, and some of you do not care for apple cider, which is completely fine as well. Okay. So, what types of apples are used when making apple cider? It really depends on what vibe of flavor the producer wants to get. So, if they want a sweeter apple cider, then you're going to go towards more of like a Fuji, Gala, Honey Crisp, which Honey Crisp is what we're using in our apple cider donuts today. Golden Delicious or Pink Lady. Those are kind of the top apples that are typically used for just a straight soft cider. If you are looking for more of a tart flavor, of course, something like Granny Smith is really going to make that sing, but then also ones like Macintosh, Brayburn, or Cortland apples can also give that more of a tart vibe in the way of apple cider. A lot of folks from what I was reading recommend doing a blend of both, okay, to balance out both sides, just using a very nice blend of both sweet and tart apples. I did do some reading that there are some more specific apples that different companies use to make the hard cider. So once again, flavor profile ranges are going to be all over the place with those. Now, on some apple ciders, even ones that are in our store, you might see that it says that they are cold pressed. So I wanted to touch base on what does it mean for something to be cold pressed, especially in the realm of apple cider. So cold press means that a hydraulic press is used to extract the juice. And whenever that press is used, that means that there's very little heat that is used. Some other processes that are not cold pressed use like a centrifugal force that causes a lot of heat when extracting that juice. And whenever that heat is used in the process, it could potentially damage some of the nutrients. So when something is cold pressed, it's more likely that it's going to retain nutrients and just overall have a better quality of the fruit's flavor and vibrancy in whatever product it may be, especially in the way of this apple juice and cider. So I mentioned, if we go the cold press direction, that we can retain a little bit more of that nutrition. Does apple cider have nutrition? Let's check into that here. The nutrition that you get from apple cider is going to be very similar to apple juice. All right. So the prime things that we're really reaping from it would be vitamin C. Okay. And if you've been hanging out with me lately, I've been chatting a lot about how vitamin C is our body's bodyguard this time of year. Okay. Vitamin C is very important for the health of our tissues. And those tissues are what is going to help warn off germs, our tissues, our skins. It's like that blockade to the outside world of germs to help protect us from getting sick. So in that sense, the more vitamin C we can get all year long, not just at this time of year, the better, so we can build up our body's defenses. Apple juice and apple cider also are going to contain polyphenols, which is an antioxidant, can be very beneficial to heart health in particular. And then both apple juice and apple cider have a certain type of fiber called pectin. And that particular type of fiber is what's going to be most helpful when we think about fiber and regulating bowels a bit better. Okay, so what different types of apple ciders will you find in our stores? We have a lot of them, especially this time of year. Here are two of our brands of apple cider. So I wanted to point out here on the left, if you prefer an organic variety, we do have that in the way of our Nature's Promise line. Also here on the right, the Taste of Inspirations. You'll see right there on the label that it is cold pressed. That's what we're going to use in our mulled cider recipe that we're going to get to here in a moment. What else do we have? We have kinds. Okay, now this is going to vary depending on where you live. I'm picking up Kimes in the central PA area of our Giant stores, but if you are further out west or south, maybe in the Maryland, Virginia area, you'll find some different local ciders there. I really like Kimes. I've done some events with them before. They're out from Bendersville. So a really great group there. You can see they have a lot of different flavor varieties between just their regular. They have one that they have cinnamon added to it, one where they add 100% cherry juice, or what we use today in our donuts, specifically the Honey Crisp. Okay, Honey Crisp I feel like is that fan favorite apple, and here they're making an apple cider that is showcasing that one beautifully. Also another local group here, the Country Acres, out of Waynesboro. They have the big red Trek cider, also Honey Crisp variety there, and just their regular cider as well. So like I said, those apples are coming out of Waynesboro, PA. Might be different where you're located, but always happy that we can do some local apples in our store, whether it be in actual apple form or the cider. So let's check out this mulled cider recipe. I figured let's just go all out today. Like I said, I know there's a lot going on between the donuts, which we'll get back to in a moment, and now I'm pulling out the cider. If you are looking for a fall day of baking and activities, like, maybe next weekend you have kids or the grandkids over, like this is the thing that you take the day to do. All right. So why is it called mulled cider? Mulled cider means that you're going to take cider, you're going to warm it up, and you're going to change the flavor a little bit with different additions like spices and whatnot. So as you can see here, we are going to be using a gallon of the cider, but we're also adding apples, some spices, as well as oranges to the mix as well. Okay, so here are the directions. I'm going to stop sharing my screen again, and we will go over to the apple cider. Okay, this is going to be a crock pot recipe. I love stuff like this in the crock pot. Let me move this back and around here because I feel like, this is just something that you can, like I said, if you're making these donuts, it's a nice fall day. You can just be doing this all day long. Okay. Let me zoom out here a bit for you guys so you can see a bit better. All right, here we go. So to our slow cooker here, I'm going to be adding that Taste of Inspiration's cold pressed apple cider. So let me just give this a mix, and then we will pour that in. Don't worry, I didn't forget about the donuts. We're getting there, okay? We're going to pour this whole gallon in. I mean, this obviously would be delicious just as it is. But once again, if you're looking for that nice fall vibe day, I think this could also be really great for Halloween, like trick or treat night. You have this going, you come back in with the kids and serve this up, I think can be really lovely. Okay, so to that, we are going to be adding those spices. Okay, I have 2 cinnamon sticks that I'm going to be putting right in. And then we'll work with our oranges first, okay? We want to do 2 oranges. We're going to cut them in half, and we're going to squeeze in the juice, all right? We're really bringing out the acidity here, giving this a nice orangey flavor. We're going to then just plop that right in. I did wash these oranges ahead of time, okay? Squeeze that juice in. More juice will release and relax out as this cooks, okay? You can cook this on low for about 4 to 6 hours, or on high if you want it to be warmed up a bit faster. Okay. Get some more of this juice in here. Then we'll work with our apples. I need to use my muscles here today. There we go. All right, It already looks nice, doesn't it? Okay, let's then add in the apples here. You're going to use 2 apples. I decided to go with our local tote bag apples. I'm all about the ginger gold. I just love the flavor of them. I think that they go really nicely in baked goods. So they're going to complement what we're doing today very well. Just slice this other one. Just a moment. It's going to be a nice pretty pop of green in here too. Okay. Now I won't take the time to do this with all of them, but essentially you're going to chop these down a bit further. And then we have some cloves over here, okay? Fresh whole cloves that you can take with the pointy edge, and we're just going to poke them in to the apple there like that. Okay, so spread them out between the different chunks, but essentially you're going to do this to all of these pieces. And then we're going to pop them in to our cider mixture there. Okay, so let's go back to our donut. Okay, I know we're all over the place here. Here is that cider we used. Here is this mixture that we let sit for 10 minutes. You can see here, let me show you when I use the spatula, it's gonna be like nice and airy now. Okay, you could hear it. I know you probably can't hear it, but I can hear it. So I'm gonna put that to the side and show you here. This is my donut pan that I used. But once again, if you don't have a donut pan, just use a muffin tin. I'm going to pull out the donuts that I already baked here in a second, but right now I am just heating up 4 tablespoons of butter because that's going to help us coat our donuts. Let me show you my donuts here. All right, here they are. Aren't they cute? So these here, of course, are going to be the ones I made in the actual pan. I did overfill the pan just a bit. They kind of look like mini little bundt cakes, but so cute. These are the ones that I did in my mini muffin my mini muffin pan. So you can see really the difference is just if you want to make it say like the donut versus not. I think that either way is completely fine. Okay. So let me check on my butter here. Let's see. Okay, good. Our butter is melted. And in this dish here, let me move this a while. The back. Here's our butter. This dish here, I have a 1/2 cup of sugar. And then remember we saved some of that spice mixture, that cinnamon and the clove and no nutmeg for me. Okay, we're gonna put that in there. Give this a little bit of a mix. And now, like I said, if you aren't ready to serve these, this is that step that you put these in a container for 3 days. Don't do this part until you're actually ready to serve them. Okay, so what am I going to do here? I'm just going to take, you don't have to use a pastry brush. I'm being like super extra fancy right now. Okay, you could just dip them in the butter if you wanted to, but get that nice and coated with the butter. Then we're just going to dredge it in the cinnamon sugar here. And how so cute is that? So good. Gonna taste so delicious with that mulled cider whenever that is done. I'll do one more for you here, guys. And then we'll wrap it up. But I'm so excited for these. Once again, benefit of doing this compared to getting one out, it is baked. It's not fried. It's mini and adorable. So cute. Okay. I know it seems like there was a lot going on. I keep saying that this is one of those activities that if you have a day to do some fun stuff, I think that this could be a cool one to do. Okay. So let me pull back my presentation here today. I know we are at time. If you need to go, no worries. But I just wanted to show you here that if you really enjoyed the whole apple pumpkin vibe, Charlotte will be back again next week to make apple cheddar biscuits. And then she'll be finishing up the month with pumpkin as she does a really nice toast with a chocolate pumpkin seed butter. I've made that before. It is quite delicious. So definitely check back for that. But thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you take care for the rest of the day. At this time, I'm going to end our recording and check out all of the questions in the Q&A. But just thank you once again for joining today.